What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Kaylee and this is Healthy, Fit, and Saved. And today I want to kind of break down and explain to you why I consider myself to be plant-based, but I eat meat. This is a really hard thing for me to film. This has been really tough because I think that there's just like so much stuff to say and I just don't know where to start. I don't want to offend anybody. I want to preface this by saying that I have no beef against vegans and vegetarians who do consider themselves to be plant-based. I would definitely agree with them that they're plant-based. The reason why I'm making this video is because I want to make an argument for omnivores who happen to eat meat that's from really good sources, really good quality meat. I'm not talking about this from an ethical or a moral or even an environmental standpoint, although kind of environmental standpoint, I guess you could say. I really want to focus on a health standpoint for a second because I feel like all these documentaries that have been coming out over the last 2 to 3 years, there's scientific based like evidence in them, sure, but I think that they take like little pieces of evidence and they just make broad strokes of like these like broad claims saying that everybody who eats meat is going to get diabetes and die. First of all, I'm in research. I am studying to be a scientist, and the first thing that you learn when you get into this field of study where you're doing like peer-reviewed evidence-based research is that you can't ever make definitive claims at all. Like, you cannot make any definitive claims. Maybe after years and years of research, you can come out with like a systematic review or like a meta-analysis or something like that, that basically lumps together 20 years of research saying, okay, now I think we can make a definitive claim. But you can't take one study, and particularly you can't take one dietary study that has like 12 people in it and say that because these 12 people saw these results, then that means that it's going to be the same for everybody, because we just don't know. So I think the reason why these documentaries make me so angry is because it's kind of like, you know, when they make these like grandeur claims, like if you eat an egg a day, it's the equivalent to smoking a pack of cigarettes a day on your heart. It's like, really? Really? Like, if you think about that intuitively, that seems like a bit of a stretch. And so I just want to kind of talk to you guys about what my diet is, why I consider myself to be plant-based, and why I think that we can, as meat eaters, do both. So we've all seen a food pyramid, right? You have like different levels, and depending on how big the level is or how like low it is to the bottom, that's how much or little you should eat of a certain food group. Now, traditionally, the food pyramid had 6 to 11 servings of whole grains at the bottom, and then it had fruits and vegetables and dairy and meat and like all this stuff. They've since reshuffled that, and of course there's been a ton of research that's come out since that food pyramid was created that has debunked the fact that we need 11 servings of bread a day, which is crazy. But I kind of think of it like this. I think that everybody can agree that fruits and vegetables and plants are healthy, whether you eat meat or not. We can understand that there's tons of micronutrients, there's lots of fiber, there's so many reasons for us to be eating fruits and vegetables. And I think for the most part, most diets will agree that vegetables are okay, right? I mean, maybe they might differ with like fruits and beans and nuts and stuff like that, but for the most part, we know that if you eat kale every day, it's probably going to help you in some way, shape, or form. So the reason I say that I'm plant-based is because the majority of my food comes from plants. Even though I eat meat, that base of my pyramid is fruits and vegetables. Most days I'll eat at least 6 to 7 servings of vegetables, if not 10. I'm always having a smoothie that has a ton of vegetables in it, like kale and celery and spinach, and I microblend it. I don't juice it because I want to make sure that I'm getting all of the nutrients and fiber. I have a Vitamix, which is really awesome. But I make sure that I do that, and then I have some steamed vegetables with breakfast, lunch, and dinner. At least 2 of my meals do not have animal products, and then the last one typically does have some sort of meat or eggs or something like that. However, I don't eat dairy because I can't eat dairy. I don't eat gluten because I can't eat gluten. My diet's really weird because I'm trying to overcome an autoimmune disorder, so of course my diet is not going to be the same as everybody else's, but the reason I consider myself to be plant-based is because most of my food comes from plants. It makes me kind of mad that vegans and vegetarians think that it's like you can't, if you eat meat, you can't say that you are a plant-based eater. It kind of insinuates that you have to be in one of 2 categories. Either you have to be vegan and never ever eat any animal products, or you are a meat eater and you spend all your days eating McDonald's. Like all these documentaries, every single time I watch them, I go, okay, I can understand the health benefits of that. I can understand the environmental impact that eating animal products has. I can even understand the moral aspects of it. Do I agree with it? Maybe not. Do I agree with the environmental components? Yeah, I do. But from a health standpoint, the thing that makes me mad is not the fact that they say that plant-based diets are healthy, because I know that. The thing that makes me mad is that they just assume that everybody who eats meat eats like 10 servings of meat a day and has way too much protein and has never seen a leaf of spinach in their entire lives. And that's just not true. Like, it is vastly inaccurate. Of course, there are certain parts of the world, and particularly certain parts of the United States where I live, where a lot of people don't eat enough vegetables, and their dietary habits and kind of cultural habits are less than subpar. You know what I mean? I understand that. Of course, we have an obesity epidemic, we have heart disease epidemic, we have a cancer. There's so many diseases that are running rampant in our country, so I get it. I understand. However, there is a wave of this health movement that has happened over the last 5 to 10 years, where people have been doing things like paleo diet, Whole30. A lot of people have been reducing their intake of dairy, and a lot of people have been reducing their intake of gluten. And I honestly think that a lot of those things also lumped together with processed food, because of course I know that processed food is probably not the healthiest for you, but I think that as people are reducing their consumption of those things, they automatically will start to replace them with things, because you gotta eat something. And so as we're starting to get more educated on what health actually is and how we can nourish our bodies best, I think a lot of people have been swapping out dairy for vegetables and fruit, and gluten for non-gluten, or like other grains or other plants or other nuts and seeds and things like that. So to say that every single meat eater is gonna get heart disease simply because they eat meat, it's too complex for that. Human physiology is way too complex for that. And a lot of these research studies that are cited in these documentaries are looking at associative research. In other words, they take a huge cohort of people, thousands of people, and they ask them what they eat every day for an extended period of time. And then they see basically how long it takes them to die. Just putting it plainly, that's essentially what they do. And so then they can look and see, okay, this group of people died when they were 50, but this group of people died when they were 60, and this group of people, they ate one more egg than this group of people did. So therefore, if you eat more than one egg a day, then you're gonna die 10 years sooner. Well, you could say that, and that might be true, but that's probably not gonna be true for everybody. There's so much that we don't know, and it's really, I think it's almost criminal for these documentaries to just insinuate that it's all eggs' fault, or it's all ground beef's fault, or something like that. We don't know. We just don't know. But the bottom line is, when you dichotomize people's dietary habits, it makes people feel like discouraged. Like people who say, oh, I just don't know how I could be vegan, especially considering like where the person lives in the country. If they're like, I don't have access to vegan foods all the time, so what am I supposed to do? Eat like iceberg lettuce for the rest of my life because that's the only vegan thing around me? It's not feasible to tell someone to do that. Of course, it's amazing that a lot of these fast food restaurants are starting to have more like vegan options and things like that, because it makes stuff like that more accessible to people. And I am totally on board for that, mostly because I understand that people need to get more vegetables in, and if they can swap out meat and like other like really high fatty meals with these non-animal protein options, then I think that that's great. The other thing that I love is kind of coming at people and meeting them in the middle, as opposed to saying like, oh, you know, if you eat animal protein or if you eat animal products, then you're killing the environment, so you have to stop it completely. I understand that we're in a climate change crisis, and I understand that our environment is not in the best situation, but I don't think, it's kind of like with religion, I don't think that the best way to reach every single person in the country and every single person in the world is to be super radical in any direction. It doesn't work with fitness, it doesn't work with diet, or it doesn't work with religion, it doesn't work with politics, it doesn't work at all. So if we know that it doesn't work for all of these things, it's not gonna work for food. Like if I went to someone, and I'm a Christian, I went to someone and I said, you're gonna die if you don't become a Christian right now. Chances are they're probably gonna be like, okay, weirdo, and they're gonna leave and walk away and not even listen to what I have to say. But if I'm really trying to evangelize to somebody, I might just like talk to them about my personal experience with God. So just like with religion or politics or anything like that, when it comes to our diets, if you're trying to promote veganism, I think the best way to do that is not to tell people or shame people. So if we're trying to promote more plant-based foods, if we're trying to promote healthy foods, and if we're trying to reduce our carbon footprints, I don't think the best way to do that is to yell at people for eating meat. I think the best way to do that is to have people meet you in the middle. Maybe that means suggesting to them and saying, hey, the next time you're at Carl's Jr., you should try the Impossible Burger. It's really delicious and it's plant-based. It tastes just like a burger. Starting to give them recommendations like that, or saying like, hey, do you want to go to this vegan restaurant with me? Or hey, look, I found this cool vegan recipe or something like that. And just starting to say like, maybe you can incorporate little by little more plant-based options without going completely vegan. I don't think I'm ever gonna go vegan ever. I say I don't think because you never know what's gonna happen in my entire lifetime. But my point is I try to reduce my animal product consumption as much as possible, particularly when it comes from the quality. Like if I go to a fast food restaurant, I don't know where that meat came from, and I know that it's been hopped up with hormones and anabolic steroids and all of these different things, antibiotics and things like that. And so I'm probably going to make a decision to have a salad, or I'm probably going to make a decision to have something plant-based. But if I know where the meat comes from, I'm okay with eating it because I know that it's organic, it's free range, I know the farm it came from, I know the region of the country that it came from, and I know what they did to it and how they treated that animal. From a moral perspective, we all have our own opinions, and you can say that meat is murder and that's totally fine. Not really the argument that I'm trying to make anyways. The argument that I'm trying to make is just that we can't dichotomize diets. We can't dichotomize diets into plant-based people and unhealthy meat eaters. I think that there's something called an omnivore. I would consider myself to be an omnivore, but I eat lentils, I eat beans, I eat quinoa, I have tofu, I have tempeh, but I also have grass-fed beef and free-range chicken and organic eggs and all of these animal products that I know where the stuff came from. I'm fine with eating it once, twice a day, and it works for my diet. Okay, so that was like my little rant. So I hope that you didn't get offended if you're a vegan. Again, I commend what you do. I think that what you do is amazing. I think that we all should reduce our animal product consumption, but I will just leave you with this. I honestly think that what is causing disease is inflammation. And I say that because so many people can say that sugar causes disease, or that cholesterol or like high fatty foods cause disease, or that animal protein causes disease, animal products, things like that. I think that once we are in a systemic, chronic inflammatory state, then that's when disease will strike. And we can be in a chronic, systemic inflammatory state with a lot of different things. If we have too much alcohol, if we have too many cigarettes, if we have too many processed foods that our body doesn't really know how to break down, if we have too much meat, if we have too much carbs or too much gluten, or if we have some sort of an allergen that we don't really know of and we keep eating that food, there's so many different ways that we can get inflammation. That is really the cause of disease. And so to say that animal products is the only reason why people are getting diabetes and heart disease, I think it's just like, it's kind of immoral. It's a lie. Like it's not a lie because it's partially true, but you can't omit other things just to make your narrative work. You have to look at the whole picture and see what's actually going on from like a whole comprehensive standpoint. All right, guys. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Comment down below if you agree with me, if you want to tell me about your dietary lifestyle, or if you want to judge me and my lifestyle and tell me that I should be a vegan. You can comment that too. Go for it. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.